Good morning and or good afternoon, and welcome to the next episode of our Conversations with Tech Leaders Shaping the Future of Canada interview series. My name is Dalibor Petrovic. I'm a partner at Deloitte. I have a distinct pleasure of leading our CIO program, and through that program, in collaboration with our partners at the Canadian CIO Strategy Council, I'm hosting this series. We are going to, of course, allow maybe a minute or so for our audience members to click on their links and join us in the session. While that is happening, I'm just going to provide a bit of a context and a background for those of you who are joining us for the first time. This series of interviews is conducted in recognition of a need for our Canadian technology executive leaders to establish closer connections and networks and learn from each other, in the aspiration that when we do that well, we all benefit, not just personally, but also our organizations and ultimately our country and our society too. So we've been having these conversations now regularly for the last 16 months. And today I'm really thrilled and excited to welcome Tatjana Lalkovic, the SVP and CIO of Economical Insurance and Sonnet Insurance. I very much look forward to this conversation. Tatjana, thank you very much for your time. It's lovely to see you.
Hello, Dalibor. Hello, everyone. Really delighted to be here. Really looking forward to the conversation.
Wonderful, wonderful. And for those of you who've been with us before in our earlier sessions, you would know that you can engage directly by submitting your questions through the Q&A function. And towards the end, we are going to, of course, take some time to open up for those questions. So with that, and thanks to the CIO Strategy Council for supporting us on this program and co-promoting with us, I wanted to start by, Tatjana, asking you to tell us your story. You have had a very, very interesting professional and personal life, and I would love to know how you navigated it to now end up leading Economical.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Thank you for that question. I'd be delighted to kind of give a little bit of my background. So as many actually female technology leaders, I initially didn't plan to go into technology. And I wanted to do something really creative. I wanted to go into music and business and English literacy, and I had all kinds of ideas. But I was good at math and computer, well, I would say with math. And being a bit inspired by my brother and nudged into computer science and math, partly for inspiration and partly because I was good at that, and partly because of economic and job market situation in former Yugoslavia, where I grew up and got my education. And so when I started really my career truly when I moved to Canada, and I managed my journey of continuous exploration and continuous learning. And I would say I developed the love for technology, and I discovered the love for solving complex business problems with technology and addressing customer experience, leveraging technology. So for me, it was always technology as an exciting way to do something big. I spent the majority of my career in financial industry, where I spend the majority of my time in digital. And I always mention career starting in capital markets, where we really didn't talk about at that time internet, and I'm dating myself, but we launched the first foreign exchange trading site in CIBC in Canada for small business and commercial clients. And I always reflect on that, because it really was something that inspired me for the rest of my career, because I worked closely with the business. It was very innovative. We solved big problems. We thought about the customer. We did it in agile fashion, and we didn't even know there was not a name at that time. We didn't call it agile, and we actually naturally practiced all the key philosophies behind agile. And you know, I often reflect on that. Spent a couple of years just before I actually joined Economical. I ventured into telecom in Rogers Digital, and I had an opportunity to kind of lead really innovative solutions there that also inspired me. And I learned something new before I came back to financial industry and joined Economical in February 2022. Just before the pandemic, and just in time to meet all my colleagues and get excited about the people that I'm going to be working with. And then we went into the lockdown. And it was a very exciting journey. I often say I joined a 150-year-old startup. It's a mid-sized company. I spent all my career with the big banks and big organizations. And here I am, mid-sized company, really inspired by the speed of impact that me and my team can do, and inspired by leadership and how quickly and we make decisions and you know, make the impact for our organization to take it to next level. So super excited to be here, Dalibor. That's a little bit of my story. I would say on a personal level, married with two wonderful daughters. We are digital and technology companies, so you can imagine what the conversation is like at the dinner table in our house. And you know, excited to be here, Dalibor.
And what I also know, an avid board gamer, right?
Yes, and I was actually inspired by someone on this call at the beginning of pandemic when I talked to Dalibor and say, so what do you do? What would be a great thing to do while we are in a lockdown? And Dalibor inspired me with number of strategy games. And so the whole family and friends, we were doing it even online. And you know, that's really pulled the competitive nature in all of us. So we continue with that tradition and really exercise your brain and creativity, and you have fun. So thank you, Dalibor.
It's a wonderful thing to actually, like, we talk about work-life balance and life balance. So, you know, I personally am a proponent of board game nights with families and friends. So, and your favorite game right now is, a little plug for?
Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride. There we go. Wonderful.
It is amazing. And the only thing I have to watch when I start playing, that I stop playing and get to do other things that I need to do. But if you didn't try it, people on the call, like, I would highly recommend, you know, have some fun with that.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I love hearing how different leaders chart their own path to achieve, you know, the ultimate, the pinnacle of career, being, you know, leading portfolio of information and technology. You mentioned you had interest in music and art, and that is wonderful to hear. We've had, you know, guests who are, of course, technologists, but I can tell you, every time I listen, there is something absolutely unique that to everyone on these conversations. We've had lawyers, we've had economists, we've had, you know, political scientists, and now an artist. So this is wonderful. This actually is just a very good message, I think, to everybody listening. Intuitively, people would know this, but this CIO role, this C-suite role, is unique in that there isn't really a charted path to it. Different individuals come to it from different angles, and that is very unique, I think, to the CIO role. Not as, you know, as charted path as maybe some other C-suite roles. So this is really interesting to know. So Tatjana, when you reflect, of course, you had a career mostly in financial services, now with insurance. I would love to sort of get your perspectives on, you know, what are you seeing in the insurance industry overall, what are you seeing are the most relevant sort of technology data conversations? What are the most relevant or interesting opportunities you see in front of the industry? What are some common challenges and issues? Can you comment a little bit about that?
For sure, for sure. So, before I joined Economical, I spent a little bit of time with Intact, and also when I was leading the omni-channel portfolio in TD Bank, I had exposure to insurance business. And one of the things that I would say is, I think there is a bit of a perception or stereotype behind insurance, and people say, well, that can't be interesting. And what I learned on my journey is that it's a very interesting business. And what really inspires me now in my career is there is such an accelerated speed of innovation in insurance, and such a great opportunity to digitize the business, to improve the experiences with both customers and brokers through different omni-channels. So if you think about, where you can apply these exciting technologies, I really believe it's the right place to be.
Mm.
And in terms of, you asked the trends, I mean, some of them are like kind of common to what you see in all the industries, right? Leveraging cloud and automation in space. But I would say, digitization of the business, end-to-end digitization to improve and make the experiences for our customers simpler and be more efficient, so you can direct your investment to higher value add technologies, is super important and super exciting, and it's really closely working with the business, figuring out business process engineering and how the technology can help with that, and how you can do robotics and data and digitally assisted technologies to make that really impactful and differentiate yourself, and demonstrate to our customers how insurance can be really different and better.
Yeah.
And I would say, playing into that and exploring that to build tighter relationships with our customers and brokers, improving the ease of interaction, improving the leverage of data to really establish that meaningful relationship for our customers. Exploring partnerships and participation in different ecosystems to provide additional value to the customer beyond insurance only, and building that trust. Technology plays a super important role. And when you come to the trust, it comes from being data driven. So really understanding your customers, because if you don't understand what their needs are and you respond to them, then you can't build that trust and you can't create those digital experiences that the customers expect. And today, is in any industry, customer expectations are driven by the best experiences they have in their personal lives. So think about that. How do you offer the insurance in that fashion and meet those expectations by leveraging technology? Dalibor, going back to the trust, cybersecurity, top of mind for all of us. But if you can't establish the trust with your customer by being secure and, having those key capabilities to respond effectively, because it's not a question, people will get attacked in all across different industries. But how do you respond to that so that your customer believe that you have that, and you're managing and you're focused on providing that security for the data and information we have. And insurance industry has very, very unique access to data. So exploration of artificial intelligence and advanced analytics the opportunities to improve the business and experiences is enormous in
Yeah,
insurance industry. So
yeah,
just a plug for the students and people that are entering technology careers, to explore different industries and don't necessarily form an opinion of stereotypes in terms of what each industry can provide, because there's a world of opportunity.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's excellent. And we actually wrote about what you mentioned in our last Tech Trends report 2021. Um, the opportunity for organizations like yours that interact directly with customers, because of the compute power that we have now and access to data sets that we have now, that organizations that are leading can actually deliver bespoke, personalized experience to each individual client at a million clients at a time, millions at a time, right? So we call it bespoke for billions, but that I think is the exciting opportunity here going forward, to actually give that personalization. And I am absolutely digitize first. When I speak now to CIOs, there are three words that come up as their priority, and they start with digitize the business. The second one is then automate it, and then the third one is now configure us to be able to actually successfully operate in that new digitized and automated world, right? So I'm glad that you mentioned that as the first priority.
Indeed.
That
And
that's wonderful.
you mentioned something, Dalibor, if I could, that I feel is very important, because in all of the industries and when you connect to technology, people talk about innovation. And I almost feel like it's more important to be able to embrace innovation at speed, and you have automation to follow that agility, than implement the latest,
Mm-hmm.
shiniest
Mm-hmm.
technology, because technology will and change is accelerating all the time. And so if you're positioned to embrace the innovation, is top priority over specific innovative idea and chasing that
Yeah.
idea, so that you can embrace on ongoing basis and position yourself to be continued innovator, as
Yeah.
opposed to have one
Yeah.
break big innovation.
Yeah, exactly. So like, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Be good, do it, be bold, go, pilot, test, learn, and make impact, rather than wait for perfection or always be distracted by new shiny object. There's so many shiny objects these days, and probably it's slowest it will ever be, right? There's only been more cooler things in the future for sure. So it's excellent. So Tatjana, obviously you have a very impressive career. You navigated your professional career, as you mentioned, from being an immigrant that landed into Canada to now leading the important organization in the Canadian society. You have certainly observed the evolution of the role itself of CIO, or tech executive, top tech executive, regardless of what the title is. Have you observed any interesting sort of trends and some interesting sort of um, evolutions of the role, and if so, what might those be, and where do you think the role is actually heading in the future?
That's a great question. I mean, I'm going to give you my perspective on that. I don't know whether that's a industry perspective, and time will tell, right? Um, so I think the biggest change that evolve in my mind, to make a successful CIO, is leadership style.
Mm-hmm.
So from hierarchical directive C-suite leader to someone who can be strategist and go into the details with your team, but empower them to lead the change. I think it's in that leadership style that I've seen most evolution in terms of role of CIO. And I think that inspiring the change, the inspiring technology work, and inspiring close work with the business partners
Mm-hmm.
and understanding the customers is what differentiates today's CIO, I believe. Um, the other thing is what I mentioned to you, being strategic enough to position yourself for continued innovation rather than innovation, specific innovative initiative,
Mm-hmm.
and chasing a new shiny object. And then innovate with both big I and small I, like think out of the box all the time. Um, so I think that those are the key things that I believe, how the CIO roles changed.
Yeah.
I think where it's going to go, I think it's really being the technology advisor and um, inspirational leader to attract the talent for the companies to um, view the companies as a destination place for technology talent is the
Mm-hmm.
key role of CIO. And being partner with the business and running the business of technology as an advisor and as inspirational leader to bring great talent that will make a difference and that will have a right culture to innovate with the business together.
Yeah. So what is wonderful to hear, so thank you very much for that. What is very wonderful to hear is nowhere in this have you mentioned technical skills and knowledge of particular technical area. It is all about leadership. It's all about driving change, being catalyst for change. It's about being able to position and educate and evangelize and attract the best talent. So it's all what I think we previously called softer skills, which we are learning are the actual hard skills. And that's lovely. So now I have a follow-on question to that. So given what you just described, what are the skills and how do you sort of assemble the winning team around you? Like, what do you look for when you go to hire tech leaders into your team?
Right, that's great. Thank you, Dalibor. To me, technology skills are table stakes, and then more.
Yeah.
So when I hire the team, I look for people that have this passion for the work they do, passion for technology, and passion to innovate with the technology in specific business area that they're signing up for. So continuous curiosity and desire to learn, because guess what? The technical skills need to continuously evolve. So even if you hire someone that has all the skills for today, it's more important to hire someone who is going to be open and curious to adopt the change. Um, I recently talked about cultural fit, and what I understood some technology companies are now talking about is cultural add. So what the person can bring to the table, not only to fill the mold, but build a team that has variety of skills and perspectives to be able to brainstorm, debate, innovate, inspire each other. And so I love the cultural ed part.
I'm
Out
stealing that one. I'm stealing that. That's a good one. I'm stealing that one.
Okay. Good. um, I would say out of the box thinker, and then leadership skills, the ability to empower and inspire others,
Yep.
be as good as they are. I have recently, over the past year and a half, built a fantastic leadership team on technology side, that inspire me every day. And I think it was really, really important that they were actually part of hiring each other.
Mm,
So
that's
I
good.
found
Yeah.
that is critical when you're building the team, that they truly bring different perspectives, different cultures to the table, but they love working with each other and being
Yeah.
inspired by each other. So
Yeah.
I think that's critical for the success. And I truly think that's going to be a differentiator for our team.
Yeah. 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 You're right. I mean, at this level of seniority where you operate, everything that you accomplish actually gets accomplished through others. So you have to have a Stanley Cup winning team on ice, wearing economical jerseys, right? So that was very good. And I loved the cultural ad concept. That is actually what it is. We just never articulated it that sharply. I haven't so far. So thanks for that. um One reason why we do this series is to connect Canadian tech leaders and to present them as successful business people, but also as humans. We all, I think, intuitively know how important our industry is to the overall progress of our country, both economically and societally. So I wanted to ask your perspectives on, like, how do you see, what are those maybe levers that we as technology leaders in Canada can do better or differently to further help sort of elevate our society and to actually allow Canada to have a more prominent, visible, louder voice on the global scale, as I think we deserve. What do you think on that, about that?
That's a great question. That's an interesting,
Big one. It's a big
really
question.
big question. So I think, digital technologies are changing all the industries and definitely therefore have an impact on economic progress. Not only economic, but national growth and, impact on society. And so what I think we could do is, I truly believe as a society, start earlier in the children's education to educate kids about what technologies are, and not specific technology only, but what you can do with that.
Yep.
Why is it exciting? Why is it creative? Because I wish, I knew that earlier, because I had a big struggle going into technology, and I felt I had to do it because of the job market. And I discovered I actually loved it. And so wouldn't it be nice to inspire kids early in their learnings and allow them to find that path maybe earlier? And then my favorite plug there, as an avid advocate for women in technology and girls in STEM, really make it real for the girls very early in their education what that journey might look like. And the girls know what the artist or author and doctor might look like. Do they know what it looks like to be a technologist and female technologist in today's market? So I think what we need to do is
A
to
great comment.
Sorry.
I was going to say, what a great comment. And literally every single individual on the participant list listening into this can actually do something concrete about exactly that. Get involved, visit elementary school, talk about your career, right? There are concrete things that people can actually act on what you just described. Sorry, I disrupted.
No, it's exactly it. I'm really passionate about that. And really that thinking started from understanding the lack of pipeline from the, girls in STEM, and having two daughters and trying to influence them and share that with them. And I think we have a lot to do. And that will bring a lot more talent pipeline in Canada to leverage digital technologies to drive that economic growth and changes in society. And so I think that's one big opportunity. Then talent that we have, really leverage it and give them opportunity. We know we have great talent in Canada in data and AI. How do we support that even more? That also attracts big technology and other companies to bring their business to Canada and want to understand the opportunities of diverse and strong talent in Canada that can be, helping progress globally. And then finally, I would say as many hard things about COVID, but acceleration of that digitalization and understanding that we can actually be comfortable leveraging those digital technologies. I think people that did not understand or were not comfortable with the technology for years were forced into kind of understanding it, and now feel a lot more comfortable to embrace that new way of thinking. So that would be my thought.
That, yeah, that last comment was actually so is actually very powerful when you think about it. Every single organization that has survived this, and most have, actually has technology to thank for it. Like, technology was the straw that saved the lives of all organizations, probably no, a month and a half into the pandemic. Those, like, and we were really successful. As a matter of fact, everybody was actually very successful. So that, I think, has opened up a door for technology leaders to have much more resonating stage in front of their peers and executives of how important, critical, this portfolio of information and technology is. So that's very good. I wanted to sort of just go back a little bit on your comment about tech talent that exists in Canada, specifically AI, machine learning. Like, our academic system is fantastic. We are producing world talent, great people who have great ideas, who are entrepreneurial and then can create sort of companies. But I think that we all agree that the problem we have is taking it from startup into a scale up. We all would love to see more of Nortels and more of Shopify's and more of Blackberries and others. So, like, any sort of reflections and thoughts on what could tech leaders like you in Canada do to help that ecosystem of great ideas that are emerging, that have problem scaling?
That's a great question. As a matter of fact, leveraging the startups in fintech, insurtech, you name it, I think is, maybe something that I didn't elaborate on when you asked me the huge opportunities in insurance industry. And I think not unlike other industries or financial
Yeah.
industry overall. So figuring out to create those partnerships with those startups and what it's such a beautiful symbiotic
Yeah.
relationship that can be created. And I think what we can learn from there, and I know now joining Economical and how I feel comparing to some large organizations that I've been in, learning from them how they innovate fast with speed, how sometimes you have just enough process to get good at trying something and getting better and innovating.
Yeah.
But for them, helping them to understand what would it take to scale and have a bigger picture in terms of what the business need and how the business operates, so that they can adjust their innovation to
Yeah.
practical use cases. So I think that, forming then partnerships, being aware, interact with that community and engage continuously to
Yeah.
find those, amazing ideas and talent that can actually help your organization, can help
Yeah.
this startup, and can ultimately help Canadian economy and Canadian
Yeah.
technology overall. So I think
You
that's
mentioned this symbiosis between established organizations and those startups. And when I speak with the startup community, a couple of things pop up right away. First, what they're saying is that we need a customer number one. We need somebody who is going to actually become our customer number one, and then help us actually get a customer number two. Once we are have customer number one, and number two, we're off to the races. So that sort of is their ask. And I think that what you're saying is that by more directly engaging in that community, there will be opportunities otherwise unavailable to potentially do something along those lines. But there was something else you mentioned that I just wanted to sort of expand on a little bit. Many of these entrepreneurs, startups, are typically, you know, kids finishing school, graduating, and then starting on with their ideas. So they actually do not know how to approach a corporation, how to propose, how to construct a winning proposal. They need help understanding how to navigate the corporate world. So that symbiosis that might exist, where you and your leaders engage with them, that would be actually helpful to educate them and to then benefit together. That's I found that really neat, what you mentioned about symbiosis between the two. That's excellent. Tatjana, we often have students who listen in. Like, if you were now advising yourself from a few years back when you were contemplating a career in IT, what would be your advice to people who might be on the call contemplating, this path?
I would say, continue with the curiosity and expose yourself to as many different problems and technologies that you can, as well as get familiar enough with the different industries to really find what your sweet spot, or to diversify your knowledge. It's really what I found through my career, having very different roles. And in one of the, couple of roles I had, even on the business side, obviously as a focus on technology strategy, is that really continuous learning and different perspectives that you acquire through your career are so important for one's success.
Yeah.
And allows you to really find what you're passionate about and what you're going to be the best at. I think people spend a lot of time managing their career in terms of next levels. And you mentioned the journey to CIO, but I would argue that it's journey to be knowledgeable and have a breadth and different variety of different skills and knowledge, to be well-rounded, so you can take broader accountabilities and C-suite opportunities. That's what I believe is critical to success. So explore, learn, be curious, find the sweet spot, and love what you do.
That's wonderful. We're going to go to a couple of audience questions. One actually question that came up is linked to that education aspect that you mentioned earlier. The question essentially says, like, are we overkilling, in the overkill mode, by expecting, a 3 or 4 year degree for people before they are eligible to start a career in IT? Should there be other sort of educational channels, perhaps, that would be maybe more focused to allow more people in faster without such a long commitment of time and money? Any reactions, any thoughts to that?
I think there are always creative ways to modify what those 4 years or 5 years or whatever look like, and how practical they are. I think it's important to get the foundational toolkit.
Yeah.
So that you're effective when you enter the workforce, and you don't drown in, overload of different information. Because when you enter the workforce, you have to learn the business you're in, the organization you're in, the people that you're in. And so it's important that you have a toolkit. And the way I think about, university education, I often tell my girls, it just gives you that foundational toolkit. Yep. So that you can start the journey. And, often people would say, with some of the practical experiences and internships and summer jobs, they actually accelerate their university learnings. My daughter, who's in computer science, had an opportunity to work with amazing organization this summer. And you know, the feeling of acceleration of knowledge and understanding how to apply that learning from school was amazing. But also, it was very important that she had enough toolkit so that she can operate successfully and not be discouraged. So that's how I think about, you know, I don't think it's an overkill. It's just giving you that foundational toolkit to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question that came from the audience was in the context of cyber security and cyber threats, that insurance companies certainly play a very important role today in mitigating and responding to cyber threats. We all know people, like all organizations, are being bombarded daily. How do you see the role of insurance in this space as a leader championing the cyber safety security, as opposed to being a responder or fighter only, right? Anything that you can comment on that?
That's a great question. And this is not limited to insurance industry, but generally financial industry. I mean, there are some statistics that show that financial industry company has 300 times more chance to be attacked than other industries, which is really interesting. And what I find is, are we actually within the industry, whether within insurance or broadly financial industry, collaborating, and even with the government, collaborating to jointly address the cyber threat and today's environment? And I think that collaboration is what I think we should lead with. We should think about more of, this is not something that we compete against each other between the companies, between industries. This is a common ground. It's common ground, both cyber fraud, such an opportunity to create coalitions and collaboration and learning and common ground to address this issue and be proactive and learn from each other and leverage ideas, understand different use cases, and saying, and kind of testing yourself always, how might I respond to something? Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and then how you're going to respond.
And what we know is upon us, especially with quantum computing projected to soon be commercially available. I think all organizations need to really think about what does a, somebody who wants to do harm, who wants to cyber attack you, who are well funded, what is going to be the gain for us once they become equipped with quantum computers that might, expedite compute power 1,000-fold? How do you protect against that, right? So those are like very serious conversations. Thank you very much for that question from the audience. I'm glad, actually, I love hearing you say collaboration, because when we actually spoke with the CIO of Canada and a number of others, they actually mentioned the same thing. We would love to get a forum together where we could actually discuss this and come up with strategies and tactics that would collectively help us, on that cyber threat front. So that's excellent. Tatjana, we are coming towards the end of our booked time. I wanted to just maybe ask you, do you have any inspirational leader, someone you look up to, someone you sort of think of as an inspiration for you? Who might that be?
Oh, and to pick one, so I mean, many things come to mind, and from personal inspiration, thinking of my dad, or thinking of some big technology leaders or politicians, but someone recently really inspired me. I don't know, Dalibor, if you're familiar with Tristan Harris. He is a design thinker, computer scientist, and ethicist. He's co-founder of Center for Humane Technology, and I would expect many in the audience might have watched Social Dilemma. And what really inspires me is how he is simplifying and how clearly he's seeing and help technology industry see the impact of these digital technologies to society, and implications of that, both from wonderful potential and the danger, and the approach that we have to have as human beings to make this, to use it in an appropriate way. And so, that was the recent,
That's wonderful.
big eye-opening inspiration for me.
That's wonderful. That I wasn't aware. I can now send him a LinkedIn note already. Sounds, I'm gonna certainly look into Tristan. Thank you very much, Tatjana, for that tip. And for your time. This was wonderful. I want to thank our audience members for joining us as well. I want to remind them that next week, same time, same channel, I will be welcoming Monique Allen. She's the Executive Vice President and CIO of OMERS. OMERS is one of the largest Canadian institutional investors managing the pension funds, with operations all over the world. So that should be another interesting conversation. But Tatjana, this was fantastic. Thank you very much. And I look forward to us continuing to be connected.
That's great, Dalibor. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you to the audience. Have a great day.
Lovely. Bye-bye.
Bye.